So in this essay, he has compared two seasons, that is winter and spring, and in this way he has compared two different attitudes, two different behaviors of. Actually, he is referring only to the natural phenomena. He is talking about the birds, the roads, the sceneries, what's going on, and natural. You can say the locations he is going to talk about. But actually, what he tries to say is the life. He's talking about the life of birds. Actually, he's talking about the life of plants. He's talking about the life in the waters. Such kind of thing he is going to refer in this essay. But actually, if we go beneath the lines, we can see that such kind of happening, such kind of seasons, where they affect the birds and the other living beings, they also affect the human behavior, they also affect the human mind and human heart. And the beauty of the essay is that the essay doesn't at all mention any human being, but we as readers, when we are reading this essay, we feel that as if the feelings are not of the birds, the feeling are not of the plants. It is actually the actual feelings are in our own self. We as human beings are being affected. We are affected. We are affected very badly. We are affected very positively or negatively by the different aspects of nature. So let's start with the text, and that text is: the frost held for many weeks until the birds were dying rapidly. Frost means very well snow, that it held for many weeks. It stayed for many weeks until the birds were dying rapidly, and because of the frost, birds couldn't survive. They were dying rapidly. It means that it was purely winter season, and frost was everywhere, and which was causing the birds to die, because the birds cannot survive in frost. Everywhere in the fields and under the hedges lay the ragged remains of lapwings, starlings, thrushes, redwings, innumerable bloody cloaks of birds, when the flesh was eaten by invisible beasts of prey. He says that in the fields, everywhere in the fields, as well as under the hedges. Hedges means the plants, a fence made of plants, a fence, a wall type which is made of plants. So these under those hedges and under in the fields, what was seen, that was remains. Ragged remains means the broken pieces, the remaining pieces, or I can say destroyed pieces of lapwings, starlings, thrushes, redwings. All of these are the names of different birds. Innumerable ragged, bloody cloaks of birds. There everywhere there were ragged. Ragged means broken. Bloody cloaks. Cloaks means the bodies, the bloody dead bodies of and broken into pieces, very mutilated cloaks of birds, when the flesh was eaten by invisible beast of prey. When obviously the flesh of the birds that was eaten by invisible beast of prey, means the beast whose prey are these birds, who prey these birds. So the beast had eaten the flesh of the birds, and their ragged remains, their skeleton type, these things were scattered everywhere in the fields and under the hedges. Then quite suddenly one morning the change came. What happened then? Suddenly one morning, what happened? The change came. What was the change? He is going to explain in the coming lines. The wind went to the south. The wind now turned its direction to the south, came off the sea, warm and soothing. Now the wind was coming off the sea. It was coming from the sea, and it was somewhat warmer than before, and it was soothing. And obviously, a warm wind is soothing in a region, in an area where there is frost, where it is so chill, where it is too cold to survive. So such kind of wind which is warmer, that obviously soothes us. In the afternoon, there were little gleams of sunshine, and the doves began. And what happened in the afternoon? That was about the morning time, when the warm wind was coming off the sea. And now in the afternoon, there were little gleams of sunshine, and little rays of sunshine could be seen, and the doves began. And the doves began to coo without interval, slowly and awkwardly to coo. Now what happened is that doves, without any interval, they continuously started making their sounds, and that their sounds is of cooing sound, and without interval, with continuity, and their sound was slow and awkward. Awkward means because they have cooed after a long interval of winter. That's why and it is not obviously complete summer, it is still the signs of winter are still there, so they are cooing slowly and they are cooing awkwardly, as if they have their lack of practice of cooing has made their sound somewhat awkward. The doves were cooing, though with a labored sound. The doves were cooing with a labored sound. Labored sound means that it felt as if they had to made a struggle, an effort. They had to put an effort to coo. They have to put an effort to make or create their sound, as if they were still winter stunned. And what might be the reason is that they were still winter stunned. They were not still so fresh. They were not still so active and vigilant because of the winter. They were cold. They were feeling too cold. They were stunned with the winter. Therefore, their sound was like this, weak sound, meager sound. Nevertheless, all the afternoon they continued their noise. However, what happened? Though their sound was weak, but all the afternoon they continued their noise in the mild air, in the very little mild air. Before the frost had thawed off the road, before that the frost could melt because as sunshine was now in, sun was shining lightly, so the frost started to melt. But before this frost was completely melted off the road, along the side of the road, the doves continued their noise. At the evening, the wind blew gently. What happened in the evening? Then in afternoon, that was about afternoon. Now he is progressing towards the evening time. First he started with the morning, then afternoon. Now he is talking about the evening. At the evening, the wind blew gently. Now the wind was blowing gently. Still, now before that it was just warm wind. Now it is blowing gently, still gathering a bruising quality of frost from the hard earth still. But the wind had still it was still having a bruising quality, means a quality which is a kind of feeling which is painful. And because of the cold frost, the wind still felt somewhat bruising, somewhat painful, and as the earth was still means covered with frost, so when the wind blew, it brought that coldness from the earth with itself, and that coldness was still bruising to feel. Then in the yellow, bruising means painful, not very comfortable, not cozy. Then in the yellow gleamy sunset, then what happened when sunset, now he moved towards the time of sunset. Sunset was yellow and gleamy. Yellow, it was quite yellow, and it was somewhat sad. Wild birds began to whistle faintly in the blackthorn thickets of the stream bottom. What happened at the sunset? The wild birds, there are some wild birds, they also began to whistle. They also began to whistle because some of the birds are wild birds. They are awake at the night time, so they started to whistle faintly in the blackthorn thickets of the blackthorn is a bush, a shrub, you can say, and thicket means a group, a thick group of some plant, some shrub, or anything. So in the thick groups of blackthorn bushes of the stream bottom, these wild birds began to make their sounds. It was startling and almost frightening after the heavy silence of frost. But this transition, this complete process of transition, it was frightening, it was fearful us, because and it was startling. It made us surprised. It was surprising for us because it happened and it occurred after the heavy silence of frost, because there was a very very deep silence, a very deadly silence. A deadly silence had existed, had prevailed for a long time, and that silence was because of the frost, because frost had frozen everything. It had made everything dull, and there was no activity before. Therefore, as after a long time of inactivity, now such kind of transition towards the movement, towards the sound, towards the vigilance, that was startling and frightening or fearful for us. How could they sing at once? How could such birds sing or make noises at once when the ground was thickly strewn with the torn carcasses of birds? So this is a very very important line here. The writer here refers to a very sad phenomena of the world, that still when there is destruction, still when there is only gloominess, when there is only grief, and there are dead bodies and there are bloody carcasses everywhere, when there is all loss being observed on the earth. Now at that time the birds have started singing. How could they sing? Don't they feel such kind of destruction spread everywhere? So he means to say that still when we have so many problems in the world, as human beings, we have deaths everywhere, we have tyranny everywhere. So in such kind of situations also, it is a reality that the human beings still they live, they have to live, and they make their life shown to the world. They make that they are alive. So the same condition was there, that some of the birds were still, the death was everywhere, that the death of the birds were everywhere. Still the other birds who were alive, they had started singing at once when the ground was thickly strewn, and it was spread with the torn broken carcasses of birds. Carcasses means the dead bodies of birds. Yet out of the evening came the uncertain silvery sounds that made one's soul start alert. And then evening, what happened in the evening is that came the uncertain that we cannot believe, we are not sure of, silvery sounds that made one's soul start alert. That some such kind of sounds were heard, that made the soul alert and attentive, almost with fear, as if we are afraid. The soul is afraid. How could the little silver bugle sound the rally so swiftly? How could it happen that among this destruction, among these problems and gloomy scenario, how could silver bugles sound the rally, and they are going to sound collectively in unity so swiftly, and they are making their sound swiftly, speedily in the soft air, when the earth was yet bound, still when the earth was bound with the carcasses and dead bodies of the other birds. How could the silver buggles could make their sound? How could they show that they are alive and they are happy? Yet the birds continued their whistling. Still birds didn't bother what is the condition of the earth, what is the condition of the surroundings. Either the birds are so many birds are dead, they are scattered here and there. They such kind of things didn't at all bother those buggles. Rather, dimly and brokenly, but showing the threads of silver germinating noise into the air, they still continued their producing a germinating noise, a noise which starts slowly, and then it develops slowly and gradually towards a more powerful sound. It was almost a pain to realize so swiftly the new world. So it was, although it was a new world, it was a good world. It was a world of activity. It was a world of happiness. It was the world of movement. It was the world of coming to life from death. Still, it was painful. Why? It was painful to realize why it was painful. Le monde est mort. The whole world is dead. Vive le monde, long live the world. So these are the two paradoxes. The world is dead, all the world is dead, and the other clause is that long live the world. Though the world is dead, still it has to be alive also. Means if there is death, there is also life. Life doesn't stop itself when there is death around. Life still has its own movement. Life still has its own will, and it doesn't stop itself because there is death around. No, both things, death and life, they go side by side in the world, and this is a bitter reality of world. But the birds omitted even first part of the announcement. But birds who were now whistling, who were now producing and making their sounds, who were making themselves to making themselves shown to the world. They had omitted the first part, that is the whole world is dead, and they were announcing only the second part, that is long live the world, because they are now the signs and the harbingers of life. The birds who are singing, they are the bearers of life. Their cry was only a faint, blind, fecund vibe, and their only cry was vibe. Vibe means long live. A faint, but it was still faint. Blind means that it was ignorant of all of the aspects of death and sorrow and grief on the earth. And their though it was faint, their sound was faint and blind, it was very rich, that long lives, as if they are struggling to live. Actually, they are making themselves realize that they have to live. Though the world is the world or the earth is full of the signs of death, still they are making them realize that they have to live, and they will live. So there is another world. The winter is gone. Now the world is another world. Before this, the world was the world of death, the world of inactivity. Now the world, it was the world of stillness. Now what kind of world it is? It is the world of life. The winter is gone, because the winter is gone. Winter, which was the sign of death, that is gone. There is a new world of spring now. Now what happened is, there is a new world. Before that, it was the world of winter. Now it is the world of spring. The voice of the turtle is heard in the land. Now the voice of the turtle can be heard. Before this, in winter, it goes to hibernation, but now it is being heard. But the flesh shrinks from so sudden a transition. But still, though life is a positive feeling. Life, being alive, is a positive feeling. Being active is a positive feeling. But our flesh means, we feel flesh means any living being, and especially human beings, we shrink, we fear from so sudden a transition. That how has it happened? How such a sudden transition, such quick change has occurred? Surely the call is premature while the clods are still frozen. Clods means the different patches of the earth, they are still frozen with frost, and the call of the birds is still very, very minor and meager. It is not so mature, because it is just starting, and the ground is littered with the remains of wings. And when there is the ground is full or covered with the remains or remaining pieces of the wings of dead birds, and how can such transition occur that the birds are singing? Yet we have no choice. But we have no choice, though we are very sad for such kind of situation, that so many birds are dead. There was destruction everywhere. Still we have no choice to except that we have to live. Means that when in any of the circumstances on the world, when there is loss and gloom everywhere, gloominess everywhere, The people who are alive, they have no choice other than to live. They have to live because they cannot die with the dead ones. In the bottoms of impenetrable blackthorn, each evening and morning now out flickers a whistling of birds. Impenetrable blackthorn again, he refers to a type of bush which is very thick, and impenetrable, that it is so thick that we cannot see through it on the other side. And in the bottoms of that blackthorn, every evening and every morning, what happened, out flickers a whistling of birds. Flickers means means a shaky movement, a whistling of birds. We hear the whistling of birds, that the birds are still singing in the blackthorn. They are perhaps they are ashamed of their happiness, when so many birds are dead, when there is gloominess everywhere, when there is grief everywhere, there is destruction everywhere. Still they have to live, live, and they should live. Where does it come from, the song? Where does it come from, the song? Where it is coming from? After so long a cruelty, when there was so much cruelty of the winter, how can they make it up so quickly? How can they make it up? How can they compensate it so quickly? How can the birds compensate the loss so quickly? How don't they feel about don't they feel for their comrades? Don't they feel for their companions, their companion birds? But it bubbles through them, but still life bubbles through them. They are like little well heads, little fountain heads, whence the spring tickles and bubbles forth. It seems that such kind of the sound of the birds, they are coming from little fountain heads, whence the spring tickles and bubbles forth. That a spring of water, it emits, it tickles, and it's bubbled forth, and it comes up from a fountain. It feels that a fountain has started, and now we have got a spring of water from it, and it is not of their own doing, and they are not doing it by their own self. They are not doing for their after their own will. In their throats the new life distills itself into sound. Actually life itself is imposing them life which is inside them, because they are not dead. The blood is circulating, so their life itself it distills itself out of its own choice into sound in their throats. They are not willingly doing it. The birds are not willingly making sounds. It is the life itself inside them which is making itself shown to the other world. It is the rising of silvery sap of a new summer. It is a sap liquid, silvery type of liquid which is rising, and this liquid is of a new summer. The liquid which is rising from a fountain. He has referred to the fountain. So liquid which is coming out of the fountain, and this fountain is the fountain of a new summer. Yeah, and it is gurgling itself forth, and it is struggling itself forth from the mouth of the birds. That is life has its own power. It has its own force. In between the signs of death, life, wherever it occurs, wherever it is, it gurgles forth, means it sprouts out by its own force. So it means that human beings still, human beings still, if they are gloomy, they are dead, they have got some loss, the loss of their own dear and near ones. Still, if they are alive, they have to make their life, they have to lead their life, they have to, because either their choice or not, they have to live their life. Fine.